MCU, the Mobile Command Unit. They hear the strange language, and they're wondering, like, what is going on? You know, that's not anything that we recognize. They try to get someone in to translate it because they think it might be Russians, and then Captain Darius freaks out and is like, oh God, Russians, like, you know, get body bags because, you know, those guys are savages. And Fraser, you kind of calms him down, but they get a cop in that speaks Russian, and he listens to it and says, no way, that's not Russian. You know, maybe some other Eastern European language. Excuse me. And then Fraser has the idea that says, hey, this is New York City. We'll put it on over the loudspeakers outside. You know, there's got to be someone on the street that speaks it.
Probably the hot dog guy.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, maybe the hot dog guy. So they put it on the speaker. It's playing outside. He steps outside the MCU. He's like, hey, you know, does anyone recognize what language they're speaking? And this construction worker in the back raises his hand and says, oh, yeah, my man, that's Albanian. He's like, it's Albanian? He's like, yeah, like 100% Albanian. So they let him through the barriers. And he's going to come in. But, like, I looked him up, and because I was fairly certain that he's been in a couple Spike Lee movies before, because he looked kind of familiar, but it was kind of like 50-50. Like, that guy is either like a real New York construction worker that they just like pulled off the street because he was such a character, or, you know, he's you know, one of those usual New York character actors that will pop up in, you know, a lot of Spike Lee movies. And yeah, the guy is a legitimate actor and has been in a handful of Spike Lee movies. Quite a few of them, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty much like everything he had made, like in the 90s and early 2000s. But he's like, oh yeah, like that's Albanian. So Fraser wants to bring him into the MCU, but just his whole demeanor and his body language is hilarious. Like, he's such a character. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the movies when they bring him in. He's like, oh God, what am I doing here? And they bring him in. He thinks he's going to get arrested.
They're like, so what, you know, so what are they saying? And he's like, I don't know what they're saying. You told me you spoke Albanian. I never said that.
He's like, yeah, you did. He's like, no, I never said that. He's like, I'm telling you it's Albanian. He's like, I don't know. He's like, well, how do you know? He's like, oh, my ex-wife was Albanian. And, you know, her parents were from Albania. They couldn't speak English. He's like, you know, but I'm telling you, that's Albanian. I'm 100% sure that's Albanian. So, you know, they say, hey, you know, why don't you go wait back here? And they'll try to track someone down that speaks Albanian so that they can translate what's being said. And you know, they tell the guy to go wait. And he's like, oh my God, he does not want to be there, even though he's the one that offered the help. And it's such a hilarious, just like little bit part. But it's so fucking funny. Just the way he acts and like I said, his body language. So as he goes in the back, Fraser has this whole thing, says, oh, you know, they're excuse me. They find out that no one speaks Albanian. They couldn't get anyone. Ashley Atkinson says, you know, I couldn't get anyone that speaks Albanian. I called the consulate. Couldn't understand what they were saying. I think they were asking for money. So he tells the construction worker to call his wife, his ex-wife. And the guy's like, no, I don't want to do that. He's like, yeah, just call her. So the ex-wife shows up, which, by the way, she looks like a model. And I'd like to know the story of how that construction worker got married to that beautiful woman. But she's got the bag, this like shopping bag, just full of stuff, and she hands it over. And Fraser says, "What's this?" And she's like, "Oh, parking tickets. Like, you'll take care of them, right?" He's like, "Ugh, I guess." And And he's like, what are they saying? And she's listening to it, and she's like, not only can I tell you what they're saying, I can tell you who it is. And he's like, wait, what? And she's like, oh, are you going to take care of those parking tickets for me? And he's like, yeah, we'll take care of the parking tickets for you. And she says, oh, it's Enver Hoxha, who was the president of Albania. And Fraser says, what? Like, the president of Albania is robbing the bank? And she's like, no, he's dead, but this is one of his speeches. And they're like, oh, are you sure? And she says, yeah, I'm sure. I had to listen to this stuff in school. But it's definitely Enver Hoxha. It's a tape. So he's like, oh, okay, well, thank you, miss. And as she leaves, he's like, be careful where you park next time. And, like, I'm telling you, this shopping bag is, like, chock full of parking tickets. There must be 100 parking tickets in this bag. So as she leaves, Fraser says, oh, so, they're playing the tape for us now. They're playing with us. The last time, the last time I got jerked off that bad, it cost me $5.
And they were like, everybody kind of looks at him, and he's like, Tijuana, don't ask.
The look on Willem Dafoe's face, and this had to have been like maybe it was an improv line from Denzel Washington, but just like the look on Willem Dafoe's face when he says like the $5 thing, he's like, what, $5? You can't tell me otherwise. I'm convinced that whole anecdote was probably improv, just given Willem Dafoe's reaction to it. So back in the bank, Russell and Stevie get into the safe deposit box. Stevie picks the lock, and they open up this safety deposit box. And as they go through it, there are documents, Nazi documents. And there's also a bunch of diamonds in it. So right away, like you kind of make the leap that Plummer was into some pretty bad shit at some point in time, because I'm assuming, as he was talking about his safety deposit box and how he didn't want the contents to come out, that that's exactly what this is. This is his safety deposit box, and given that he's got Nazi documents in it, he's probably not a good dude.
War criminal.
Yep. So he has shown up down at the command unit because it's his bank. He's trying to be of help, but really what he's more concerned about is, what's going on inside there and what's going on with possibly my box, my safety deposit box. But, they don't want him around for good reason.
There's a really quick scene where he asks what the heistman's demands are, and they're like, oh, they want a jet, and Plummer's reaction is just like, oh, would you like me to get one fueled up for you right now?
Yeah.
And they just give him this jarring look like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And he's like, oh, I must have misunderstood the situation, but he's so willing to just give them whatever they want so he can...
Exactly. He wants them gone because he doesn't want to be found out. So, and after the reveal of these Nazi documents, there's a scene with the rabbi, the Jewish rabbi. I think it was a rabbi, because when Russell takes over the bank, he calls him rabbi. And he's talking about what these people are up to, and they ask him, and he's like, oh no, I teach at Columbia. And he mentions that he teaches about genocide and slave labor and war reparation claims. So, with that, you kind of figure this guy knows something too. he's one of the hostages, but he's got to be in on it because he teaches about war reparation claims, and they just found a shit ton of Nazi documents in Case's safety deposit box. So it kind of gives me the idea. I don't know if you got the same idea that it's like this guy was probably was the one that kind of put the plan in motion, because he knew that something was up, or he knew the Case was a war criminal or a war profiteer. Madeline, after her meeting with Case, goes to meet the mayor, and the mayor is not happy to see her, and she needs to get inside the bank, which she knows is going to be a big ask because it's a hostage situation, but she needs to get inside the bank because she needs to make sure that Case's interests are taken care of, that he's protected. So the mayor is not happy about that, and she basically says, this is, the one favor you can do me, and then you and you won't owe me anything after this. So apparently she had done something for him at some point in time as well. So they go down, they meet with Frazier. They say, hey, things are going on here that are above your pay grade, which Denzel has a good line where he says, tell the mayor to raise my pay grade so that I can, be privy to whatever is going on here. And she says that she needs to get inside the bank and needs to talk to these people, in which, he at the same time gives her that, what are you, crazy? That's not going to happen, but eventually it does. She gets the okay or someone gives him the okay to let her into the bank so that she can talk to Russell. And he has this conversation with her, and the backdrop is a big mural, like a big 9/11 mural. Which, I like the 25th Hour. It's a pretty good post 9/11 movie. 9/11 New York. So he's going to let her into the bank. She's going to talk to Russell. He says, hey, whatever's going on here, you need to do what I say. So he lets her in, and Madeline talks to Russell. And, she says, hey, if you surrender now, you'll only do a few years. We can make sure that you're taken care of. There'll be money waiting for you. And Russell, doesn't want that deal because he's in the middle of something. And just says, hey, I'm going to walk out the front door like when I'm ready. He says, if I do get caught, you and your employer, meaning Case, are going to take care of me. You're going to, do everything you can to prevent me from going to jail. But he's also kind of working it out with Madeline that, he lays out the thing that Case made his fortune, working for the Nazis and betraying the Jews in Germany and France during the Holocaust. And there's another great stretch shot of Plummer just sitting at his desk while this conversation is happening. It cuts away the Plummer sitting at his desk, and there's another great dolly zoom as they're talking about him.
Yeah, I know they wanted to use, or Plummer specifically wanted to use like his office as a symbol of his power.
Yeah, in his office, you don't see much of it until the end, but his office is huge. His office is the size of my house. Yeah, you're right. I saw that in the research that he wants that to kind of be a symbol of his power and his wealth, and to be like a very intimidating space. But Russell correctly calls it that, hey, he used his power he enriched himself off the death of the Jewish people during the Holocaust. He starts the bank